I've spent quite a while trying to think of the best stuff that I could do to build the ultimate PlayStation Vita, but quite frankly, I got a little bit too ambitious and thought of something that most people can't really do, including myself. So I stuck with as few changes as possible that would still offer the ultimate PlayStation Vita experience of 2022. So if you own a PS Vita, I think you should keep it because the Vita is only better than ever, and it gets better every year with or without Sony around to support it. So what did I come up with? Honestly, a simple setup over here that just works and anyone can get their hands on. So with that said, introducing the ultimate PlayStation Vita setup for 2022. Let's dive right in. For more content, do make sure to subscribe to this channel because we upload fairly often and focus on all sorts of tech products. So do make sure to leave us a like and comment any of your thoughts down below while you're at it. It really helps us with the algorithm. And if you want to support us further, then we've actually got a Patreon open, which offers early access to content and special insight to projects that I'm always working on in case that is something that interests you. So links to everything down below. Now I quickly wanted to just talk about the Vita as is. So here we actually have a very slim portable handheld that is still a great size and still looks very modern to this day. It's mostly comprised of plastic and it is pretty lightweight, but it feels pretty good in hand. It's not the most comfortable and ergonomic device out there, and that is obvious through just how flat this device is. The Vita has some of the best buttons any handheld could have with very clicky controls and decent thumbsticks. I do wish that they would click down for L3 and R3, but it is what it is. I could go on and on about this, honestly, just raving about the Vita, but I think that you get the point by now. It's a really nicely designed handheld. So this right here is actually the 2000 model, which features a 5-inch 960 by 544 IPS display instead of OLED. Sure, I do miss having an OLED screen instead, but the IPS screen is still quite nice. This is a touch display also that's pretty responsive, and the colors still look pretty good as is by default, but maybe a little bit too neutral in its colors. So you can actually use a mod to make the colors a little bit more saturated and make the colors pop a little bit more. Mods like these are going to be quintessential in making the Vita experience ultimate, as I keep claiming. So let's begin by talking about the mods that I added to the PlayStation Vita to make it the ultimate handheld to me. I first knew that I wanted to increase the storage space on the Vita. Vita cards cost a fortune still, even to this day, so I went with a storage adapter that allows you to use regular microSD cards with your Vita, but it does come at the cost of your cartridge slot, which means that I will have to stick with digital games forever, so that I don't have to swap out the storage units every time that I want to play a different game. So there is going to be one compromise to doing this, but once you have this ready, you can download your games onto this SD card instead. I have a 128 gigabyte card inside, and it has been fantastic. I own quite a few Vita games, and they are all here. Like, for the first time ever, I can actually say that. However, I also like the idea of playing AAA games on my Vita, but honestly, the current Vita setup is quite uncomfortable doing that. So instead, I bought this grip that adds physical simulation of R3 and L2 buttons. This makes the Vita a bit more comfortable to hold, but most importantly, adds those shoulder buttons so that you don't have to depend on the touchpad on the rear. This is especially useful for remote play. Sometimes I like to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I think that it looks cool on the Vita. So this is exactly the configuration that I tend to stick to. This is a genuinely great setup, and if I don't need the triggers themselves for regular Vita games, then I still have a great grip that adds a lot of utility to my handheld. Another fantastic inclusion, pretty much a must-have I will say, will be the use of emulators. You can get emulators like Adrenaline for PSP, you can get RetroArch, and many standalone emulators for many systems. And I actually really like the standalone emulator for SNES that lets me play my older games very easily and promptly. But there are so many that you can use, and having RetroArch available is a pretty big deal since it acts as a hub for many of your systems that you wish to emulate. These are systems like PlayStation 1, N64, and many others. Having so many games available on such a small handheld is a pretty big feat, and quite frankly, I'm proud of my Vita for being able to accomplish all of this. So with this setup, I have a bunch of emulators, a ton of my native Vita games, and the fact that I can actually fit these games in my storage at an affordable price is what allowed me to have a lot of these games in my Vita library to begin with. But you also get fantastic remote play experiences. Also, the Vita's fantastic battery life does a lot for it in making it a fantastic system to deck out and take with you anywhere. This Vita will likely be in every setup video that I do in the future because it has become such an essential part of my daily routine. While I do wish that there was better support for streaming apps, this is still a very good gaming-only experience to have on the go because of its size and, well, like just in general. So this is probably why I would kind of end up saying to people, don't sell your Vita necessarily. Keep it. Try to make the most out of it. If video games are something that interests you, the Vita actually has quite a lot of games that are just waiting to be experienced, but because of how poorly the Vita sold in the past, and also issues with the memory card, since you can only fit so many games on there, people were not really able to make the most out of it, including myself. I didn't actually own a Vita up until very, very recently. I borrowed one for like a good few years, and then I gave it back recently, which made it so that I had to buy a new Vita, and that's how I ended up with a 2000 model over here. But quite frankly, I really don't regret this at all. I mean, this Vita is capable of a lot. Like, this is probably the ultimate handheld within reason. It's not as powerful as a Nintendo Switch by any means, but it is still a very powerful handheld that is capable of a lot. And even now, you could still consider it one of the best retro handhelds out there because of everything that it can accomplish. Now, there are still a few things probably that I would consider that could make the Vita really cool. Some things that I kind of thought about doing, but then I held back on doing that. And those were things like replacing the micro USB port with USB-C, maybe switching over the Wi-Fi module for something that would allow for 5G connectivity and that sorts of stuff. Like, some things that are a lot more involved, but I decided against it just because I didn't want to ruin my Vita in case anything ended up going wrong. And I really don't think that these changes will be all that necessary either. I don't mind carrying an additional micro USB cable if I have to, and 2.4 gigahertz is also good enough for the Vita, quite frankly. So yeah, I have to say that I am extremely happy with it, and this is what I would consider to be the ultimate setup for the PlayStation Vita. Now, it is mostly portable setup, but hey, I think it's a setup that works for me very well, and that is bound to work for a lot of people as well, especially since it's something that it doesn't require a lot of know-how to be able to achieve. And there are plenty of tutorials out there on YouTube to help you out with that as well. So yeah, I think I would say that I have built the ultimate PlayStation Vita setup where it feels like I have an actual gold mine in my hands. I mean, I can do so much with the system, and Vitas are not very cheap right now because people have been discovering so much utility that can be obtained from owning one. So yes, I'm super happy with the setup, and I would probably try to add some more things to make it even better, but I don't want to tease anything that I probably would not be able to accomplish. So let's stick with what I've got right here. So thank you so much for watching this video all the way up until the very end. I do very much appreciate it, and I hope that this video was useful to you, that this whole kind of discussion was also interesting to you. And please let me know any of your thoughts down in the comments. I'm always more than happy and open to hear what people have to say about their Vitas. Maybe if you do still plan on selling yours, how come? And yeah, I mean, thanks a lot. Now, I am going to be leaving affiliate links to some of the accessories that I mentioned here, such as the grip to Amazon, so that you can pick one up for yourself. I'm going to be leaving links to the 1000 model and the 2000 model, since they both use different grips. Now, I also want to give a very special thanks to all of our patrons, beginning with the tier 3s, Omar. Well, thanks again for all of your support, because it really does go a long way. And everybody else should be on screen right now, so thank you. And please do make sure to follow me on Twitch, where I do stream every now and then, and on Instagram, where I post every now and then. But with that said, this has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you for watching, and until next time, enjoy your Vita, and I'll see you with the revisiting of the Nintendo Wii U. Enjoy.